7-year-old girl draws strange pictures of her stepfather, and her mother decides to install a security camera to find out what's going on. When she sees the footage, she is shocked by what she discovers. Talia Blackwood's classroom was a riot of color on that autumn morning, sunlight streaming through paint-splattered windows to illuminate dozens of children's artworks pinned to every available surface. She moved between the easels, her dark curls escaping from a messy bun as she leaned down to guide small hands holding paintbrushes. 23rd graders were attempting to capture the essence of their favorite memories, and the air hummed with creative energy. "Remember," she said, her voice carrying the warmth that had made her Riverside Elementary's most beloved art teacher. "There's no wrong way to show how you feel. Your memories are yours alone, and they deserve to be painted exactly as you see them." At the back of the room, 7-year-old Ren, her daughter, was creating something entirely different from her classmates. While other children painted summer beaches and birthday parties, Ren's canvas showed a detailed scene of their tiny kitchen, captured in the soft morning light. She had perfectly rendered the way sunbeams caught the steam rising from Talia's coffee mug, the scattered Rainbow Loops cereal on the counter, and even the small chip in their favorite blue plates. Talia paused behind her daughter, marveling at the technical skill that seemed to have blossomed overnight. Ren had always been talented, but this was different. This was the work of someone who truly saw the world, who understood that beauty lived in the quiet moments between grand events. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," she whispered, careful not to disturb the other students. "You've captured our morning routine perfectly." Ren looked up, her hazel eyes, so like her father's, crinkling with pride. "It's my favorite part of the day," she said simply, adding another delicate layer of yellow to the sunbeams. "Just you and me." The words caught in Talia's chest. Just you and me. That's how it had been for so long after Marcus died. Those precious years when they'd learned to be a family of two. Now, with her upcoming wedding to Caleb just 2 weeks away, everything was about to change. The bell rang, startling Talia from her reverie. As her students began cleaning their brushes and storing their works in progress, she noticed Ren lingering over her painting, adding one final touch, a small dark shape in the window behind their breakfast scene. When Talia looked closer, the shape had been painted over, blending into the morning shadows. "Time for lunch, everyone," she called out, helping smaller hands wash paintbrushes and close paint containers. "Remember to write your names on your work before you leave." As the children filed out, chattering about lunch trades and playground games, Ren carefully wrote her name in the corner of her canvas. Beneath it, she added something new, not just the date, as she usually did, but the words "last morning." Talia felt a slight chill despite the warm classroom. "Ren, what do you mean by last morning?" Her daughter shrugged, suddenly interested in cleaning her paintbrush with unusual thoroughness. "It's just, after you marry Mr. Thorne, mornings will be different, right? It won't be just us anymore." Talia knelt beside her daughter, paint-stained hands finding Ren's smaller ones. "Hey, look at me, Firefly." It was their special nickname, born from Ren's love of catching the glowing insects in summer. "Yes, things will change, but some things never will. You and me, we're forever, no matter what." Ren nodded, but her eyes drifted back to the painting, to that shadowed window she'd tried to cover up. "Promise." "Cross my heart," Talia said, making the gesture that had sealed their most important promises since Ren was old enough to understand them. "Now go on to lunch. I heard they're serving those triangle pizzas you love." As Ren left, Talia found herself studying the painting again. There was something about it that nagged at her, not just the hidden shape in the window, but the entire mood of the piece. It was beautiful, yes, but there was also a sense of something ending, a farewell to their life of two captured in oils and watercolors. She shook off the feeling and began preparing for her next class. As she refreshed paint supplies and laid out new paper, her thoughts drifted to the first time she met Caleb Thorne at last year's school fundraiser. He'd been there representing his technology company, which was donating computers to the school. She remembered how he'd stopped at every student art display, asking thoughtful questions about each piece. When he reached Ren's display, a series of fairy tale illustrations, he'd spent almost 20 minutes discussing them with her daughter, treating Ren's artistic choices with the same respect he'd show an adult artist. That was what had first drawn her to him. His ability to treat children as people with valid thoughts and feelings, not just miniature adults in training. Over their year of dating, she'd watched him build a careful, patient relationship with Ren. He never pushed, never demanded instant acceptance. He brought art supplies as gifts, asked about her projects, and seemed genuinely interested in her creative process. Yet sometimes, in quiet moments like this, Talia caught herself wondering if they were moving too fast. It had been 5 years since Marcus's accident, and Ren had never known another father figure. The transition from favorite art supply supplier to stepfather was enormous, no matter how gentle the approach. A knock at the classroom door interrupted her thoughts. Caleb stood there, his tall frame filling the doorway, a brown paper bag in one hand. "Thought my favorite artists might want lunch," he said, holding up the bag. "I brought those croissants from Pearl Street Bakery." Talia smiled, pushing away her earlier unease. This was why she'd said yes when he proposed, his thoughtfulness, his consideration for both her and Ren. "You're a lifesaver." I was about to resort to cafeteria food. He stepped into the room, his eyes catching on Ren's painting still drying on the easel. "Wow," he said, moving closer to study it. "She's really gifted, isn't she? The way she's captured the light. That's remarkable for her age." "She is," Talia agreed, watching as he examined the painting. "His photographers, I would catch details she might miss," she thought. That's another thing that had drawn them together, their shared appreciation for visual arts, though they worked in different mediums. "Though I noticed she left me out of her morning scene," he said lightly, but Talia caught something else in his tone. Disappointment? Concern? "She's still adjusting," Talia said quickly. "Change is hard at her age." Caleb nodded, turning away from the painting. "Of course, it'll take time. Speaking of time, I wanted to run something by you. I was thinking of converting that spare room upstairs into a proper darkroom. It would be great to teach Ren about photography, maybe help her branch out from painting." The idea made sense. Caleb had been a successful commercial photographer before shifting to tech entrepreneurship. Still, something made Talia hesitate. "Let's wait a bit," she found herself saying. "Let her get used to one change at a time. Whatever you think is best," he agreed easily. "You know her better than anyone." He began unpacking lunch, and the conversation shifted to wedding details and honeymoon plans. But later, after he'd left and her afternoon classes had begun, Talia found herself looking back at Ren's painting. The morning light she'd captured so beautifully seemed different now, less warm, more exposing. And that shadow in the window, the one Ren had tried to paint over, was it just a trick of the light, or did it have a shape, a presence? Watching their last morning of 2, 6 months after the wedding, winter had settled over Portland like a heavy blanket. Talia stood at her classroom window, watching fat snowflakes drift past as her students worked on their self-portraits. The project had been simple enough. Paint yourself doing something that makes you happy. But as she moved between the easels, she couldn't help but notice how her daughter's painting stood out from the rest. While other children depicted themselves playing in snow or opening Christmas presents, Ren had painted herself in her bedroom. The technical skill was still there, even stronger than before, but something about the composition made Talia's skin prickle. The painting showed Ren sitting at her desk, but her figure was small, pushed to the corner of the canvas. The rest of the space was dominated by long shadows stretching across the room, their shapes distorted and reaching. "Ren?" Talia kept her voice gentle as she approached her daughter's easel. "Can you tell me about your painting?" Ren didn't look up, continuing to add layers of dark blue to the shadows. "It's just me doing homework. But this is supposed to be something that makes you happy," Talia pressed carefully. "Is homework your happy place?" "It's quiet when I do homework," Ren replied, her brush moving in careful strokes. "Nobody bothers me." Before Talia could probe further, the classroom door opened. Caleb stood there, snow dusting his dark coat, holding a camera bag. "Sorry to interrupt," he said with his characteristic warm smile. "I thought I might document some of the children's art for the school newsletter." Talia noticed how Ren's brush stilled, a drop of dark blue paint falling onto her smock. "That's thoughtful of you," she said, "but we usually wait until the projects are finished. Some of the children get nervous about showing unfinished work." Of course. Caleb's smile never wavered, but his eyes lingered on Ren's painting. "Though I must say, our little artist's work looks pretty complete to me. Those shadows are fascinating." That evening, as Talia prepared dinner, she found herself thinking about the changes she'd observed over the past months. Ren, once eager to swim at their local YMCA, had stopped asking to go to her Saturday lessons. When Talia had suggested they buy new swimwear for the Wise family night, Ren had become uncharacteristically agitated. "Everything okay in here?" Caleb's voice made her jump, nearly dropping the knife she was using to chop vegetables. He stood in the kitchen doorway, his camera hanging from its usual spot around his neck. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. Just lost in thought," Talia said, forcing a smile. "How was your shoot today?" "Productive. Got some great natural light in the park with all this snow." He moved to the refrigerator, pulling out a bottle of water. "Oh, by the way, I uploaded those pictures from Christmas to the cloud. Want to see them?" Talia followed him to his home office, where his laptop displayed a folder of holiday photos. As they scrolled through them, she noticed something odd. There seemed to be an unusual number of photos focusing on Ren, particularly when she wasn't aware of being photographed. In many of them, she was wearing the new holiday dress Caleb had insisted on buying, the hemline riding up as she sat on the floor opening presents. "You took a lot of pictures of Ren," Talia observed carefully. "She's photogenic," Caleb replied easily. "Has that perfect, unguarded quality children lose when they become self-conscious. Speaking of which, I was thinking of setting up that darkroom soon. The spare room has perfect ventilation for it." Later that night, after checking that Ren was asleep, Talia found herself in her daughter's room, looking through her recent sketchbooks. The progression was clear now that she was really looking. Page after page showed scenes from their daily life, but Ren's self-portraits grew progressively smaller, while shadows and dark spaces took up more room. In several drawings, a figure appeared in doorways or windows, always partially obscured but holding what looked like a black rectangle. A creak in the hallway made her close the sketchbook quickly. When she opened the door, the hallway was empty, but she could hear Caleb's office chair squeaking as he worked late again, organizing his photos. The next day at school, during her free period, Talia found herself reviewing old artwork from her students who had experienced trauma or stress. She kept careful notes over the years, noting how children's art often revealed what they couldn't or wouldn't say. Dark colors overwhelming bright ones. Small figures in large, threatening spaces. Hidden or partially obscured elements that appeared repeatedly. "Ms. Blackwood." She looked up to find Jules Chen, the school counselor, standing in her doorway. "I was hoping to talk to you about some of Ren's recent work." Talia felt her stomach tighten. "Come in, please." Jules sat down, placing several pieces of Ren's artwork on the desk between them. "These are from our weekly art therapy sessions. I noticed a significant shift in her expression over the past few months." She pointed to a drawing from October, just after the wedding. "Here." She's still using bright colors, though the composition is becoming more confined. "But look at this one from last week." The recent drawing showed what appeared to be a beach scene, but something was off about it. Ren had drawn herself in a swimsuit, standing rigid while a dark figure loomed behind her, half hidden behind what looked like a beach umbrella but could have been a camera on a tripod. "She said this was from a dream," Jules explained gently. "But Talia, Ren's never been to the beach with your new husband, has she?" Talia shook her head slowly. "No, we haven't had a beach day since before the wedding. She's barely wanted to go swimming at all lately." Children often process their anxieties through their art, Jules continued carefully. "Sometimes they show us what they can't tell us." "Has Ren mentioned anything about feeling uncomfortable or—" A knock interrupted them. Caleb stood in the doorway again, his camera bag over his shoulder. "Sorry to interrupt. I thought I'd surprise Ren by picking her up from school today. Had a shoot cancel on me." Talia quickly gathered up the artwork, feeling oddly protective of it. That's thoughtful of you, but she has her art therapy session with Ms. Chun after school today. Oh, right. His smile remained pleasant, but something flickered in his eyes. Another time then, though I've been thinking maybe we should scale back on the therapy. She seems to be adjusting well at home. After he left, Jules touched Talia's hand lightly. Talia, how often does your husband come to the school? The question made her think back over the past months. The camera club he'd volunteered to start, the newsletter photos, the surprise visits to her classroom. Each incident seemed innocent enough on its own, but strung together. That night, after Ren was asleep, Talia sat in her classroom late into the evening, spreading out months of her daughter's artwork in chronological order. The progression was undeniable now, the shadows growing longer, the figures in the background becoming more distinct, and in the most recent pieces, that dark rectangle, a camera, appearing more and more frequently. She pulled out her phone and opened her browser. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long moment before she typed, "Hidden cameras for home security." As she read through the options, she heard Ren's voice in her head. From all those months ago, just you and me, maybe it was time to find out what happened in their home when it wasn't just them anymore. The February wind howled outside Dr. Meridian Frost's office as Talia stared at the drawing placed carefully on the coffee table between them. Ren had created it during her last therapy session. A beach scene rendered with disturbing precision for a 7-year-old. The longer Talia looked at it, the more details emerged: the strange angle of the umbrella, the tense posture of Ren's figure in the swimsuit, and most troublingly, the careful attention paid to the shadow holding what was clearly now a camera. When did she make this? Talia's voice sounded distant to her own ears. Dr. Frost, a woman whose silver hair matched the winter sky outside, leaned forward in her chair. Tuesday afternoon. What strikes you about it? Everything. Talia's hands trembled slightly as she picked up the drawing. We live in Portland. It's the middle of winter. Ren hasn't worn a swimsuit since last summer at the Y. Before she suddenly quit her lessons, the realization hit her like a physical blow. Before Caleb started volunteering to drive her to swimming, Dr. Frost's voice remained steady, professional. I understand Caleb works in photography? Commercial photography before he moved into tech. He still does shoots sometimes. Talia set the drawing down, unable to look at it anymore. He's been pushing to set up a darkroom in our house. Has Ren said anything about being photographed? No, she's become so quiet lately. But her art? Talia pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos she'd taken of Ren's recent work. The camera appears in so many pieces now. Always in the background, always partially hidden. I thought maybe it was just because Caleb always has his camera with him. Dr. Frost made a note in her pad. Children often communicate through symbols when they don't have the words or feel unsafe using them. The recurring camera motif combined with the beach setting and swimwear. Talia, as a mandated reporter, I need to ask, have you noticed any other concerning behaviors? The question opened a floodgate of memories. Ren's increasing reluctance to change clothes without locking her door, her anxiety around electronic devices, the way she'd become hyper-vigilant about closing curtains and blinds. Yes, so many things I should have questioned sooner. Don't blame yourself, Dr. Frost said firmly. You're here now, noticing and acting. That's what matters. She pulled out another drawing from her file. This is from yesterday's session. I think you need to see it. The new drawing showed Ren's bedroom, rendered in the same unsettling detail as the beach scene. But this time, the camera wasn't hidden. It was mounted in the corner of the room, its lens aimed at the bed where a small figure lay sleeping. Talia felt the room spin slightly. I should check her room. Right now. Before you do, Dr. Frost's voice was gentle but urgent. We need to discuss safe next steps. If there are hidden cameras in your home, confronting this situation requires careful planning. Do you have someone you trust with technical expertise? Talia thought of Sage Winters, her best friend since college who now worked in cybersecurity. Yes, I do. Good. I'm going to give you some resources and contacts. Dr. Frost began writing on her notepad. But first, I want to show you something else in Ren's recent artwork that concerns me. She laid out several drawings in chronological order. Notice how the camera angles change over time. They start from doorways, then move to windows, then to hidden corners. There's a progression here that suggests escalating behavior. Talia forced herself to look at each piece, to really see what her daughter had been trying to tell her. In the earliest drawings, the camera was barely noticeable, just a suggestion of a shape in the background. But in each subsequent piece, it became more prominent, more invasive. There's something else, Dr. Frost said, pointing to the most recent pieces. Look at the timestamps Ren has started adding to her drawings. Talia leaned closer. In tiny, precise numbers, Ren had begun noting times: 3:42 p.m., 4:15 p.m., 3:37 p.m. These are the times she's home alone with Caleb, while you're teaching your afternoon classes, Dr. Frost confirmed. She's creating a record, Talia. Children are remarkably resourceful when they're trying to communicate distress. Back home that evening, Talia sat at her laptop, her hands shaking as she opened Caleb's browser history on their shared computer. He was working late again, something that had become increasingly common. The first few pages showed nothing unusual: photography forums, equipment reviews, online banking. But then she found it. A folder buried deep in his cloud storage, innocuously labeled beach projects. The preview thumbnails were enough. Dozens of photos, all of Ren, all taken without her knowledge. Some from behind curtains, others through windows, many focusing on her in swimwear or summer clothes. The timestamps matched perfectly with the times in her drawings. Talia closed the laptop, fighting down waves of nausea. She grabbed her phone, typing a quick message to Sage. Need help installing security cameras. Urgent. Can't explain over text. The response came immediately. Coming over tomorrow morning. Tell no one. Upstairs. She heard Ren's door close softly, followed by the distinctive click of her lock. When had that sound become normal? When had she started accepting her daughter's fear as routine? In her room, Ren was sitting at her desk, drawing again. This time, the scene showed their house from the outside, with tiny red dots marking every window, places where she'd noticed cameras watching. In the corner, she'd written today's date and time, continuing her careful documentation. Firefly. Talia kept her voice steady through sheer will. Remember what you said about it being just you and me? Ren nodded without looking up from her drawing. Soon, Talia promised, her hand finding her phone in her pocket where Sage's message waited. Very soon, the cameras need to be completely undetectable, Sage Winters whispered as she unpacked her equipment on Talia's kitchen counter. It was 5:30 a.m., and weak winter light was just beginning to creep through the windows. If he's as tech-savvy as you say, he'll be looking for them. Talia watched her friend's efficient movements as she tested each tiny device. Sage had arrived wearing what she called her weekend mom disguise yoga pants and a bright purple sweater that completely belied her usual all-black cybersecurity aesthetic. If anyone saw her arriving, they'd assume she was just another mom coming for early morning coffee. How long will setup take? Talia asked, keeping her voice low. Upstairs, both Ren and Caleb were still asleep. 2 hours max. These are top-of-the-line micro cameras with direct cloud upload. Even if he finds them, the footage is already secured off-site. Sage paused, her dark eyes serious. Talia, are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. In answer, Talia pulled out Ren's latest drawing from her teaching folder. She'd found it yesterday, carefully hidden between homework assignments. The scene showed their living room, but from a high angle, as if viewed through a lens mounted near the ceiling. In the corner, Ren had written, "He watches even when he's not here." Sage studied the drawing, her expression hardening. Okay, let's get started. First camera goes in the main living area. Show me where he usually sets up his equipment. They worked methodically through the house, placing cameras in every common area. Sage chose angles that would cover the most space while remaining invisible to casual observation. Each device was smaller than a dime, disguised to blend perfectly with smoke detectors, light fixtures, and cabinet corners. What about upstairs? Sage asked as they finished the ground floor. He's been pushing to convert the spare room into a darkroom, Talia said. Claims it's for teaching Ren photography. That room definitely needs coverage. Sage pulled out what looked like a regular power strip. This one has 3 cameras built in. We'll catch every angle. As they climbed the stairs, a floorboard creaked. Both women froze, but the house remained silent. Through Ren's door, they could hear her soft, regular breathing. Talia checked her watch, 6:45 a.m. Caleb usually woke at 7:30. The spare room was still mostly empty, though Talia noticed photography equipment had begun appearing. Light stands, backdrop rolls, a professional tripod. In the corner, a high-end laptop sat connected to several external hard drives. Talia, Sage's voice was tight. Look at this setup. The way it's positioned, it's designed for portraits. Professional-grade stuff. He said it was for product photography, Talia whispered, but the words felt hollow now. Sage shook her head, pointing to the backdrop configuration. This is meant for full-body shots. She pulled out her phone, taking pictures of the serial numbers on the equipment. I'm running these through our database at work. If he's part of any known networks. A door opened down the hall. Footsteps, too heavy to be Ren's. Morning workout, Talia mouthed silently. Caleb's daily routine. They slipped out of the spare room just as Caleb emerged from the master bedroom, wearing running clothes. He startled slightly seeing them. Oh, Sage, right? His smile was perfect, practiced. Early morning visit. Just catching up before work, Sage replied smoothly. Talia makes the best coffee in Portland. She certainly does. His eyes flickered to the stairs behind them. Heading out for my run. Don't want to interrupt girl time. They waited until the front door closed before breathing again. He's good, Sage muttered. That smile never even twitched. How long is his usual run? 45 minutes exactly. He's very precise about his schedule. Then let's finish up. I want to check his computer before he gets back. Back in the spare room, Sage plugged a small device into Caleb's laptop. Basic keylogger. It'll track everything he types, every site he visits. She hesitated. Talia, when you found those photos, were they encrypted? I think so. The previews were visible, but I couldn't open the actual files. Smart. He's covering his tracks. Sage's fingers flew over her own laptop. I'm setting up alerts. Anytime he accesses certain keywords or types of files, we'll know. The cameras will start recording automatically when he enters any room. And a small sound at the door made them both turn. Ren stood there in her unicorn pajamas, eyes wide as she took in the scene. Hey Firefly, Talia said softly. You're up early. Ren's eyes fixed on Sage's equipment, understanding flickering across her face. Are you watching him back? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. Sage and Talia exchanged glances. Yes, Talia said finally. We are. Is that okay? Ren padded into the room, her small fingers tracing the edge of the tripod Caleb had set up. He puts his camera here, she said quietly. Says it's for teaching me photography. But I don't want to learn anymore. Sage's hands stilled on her laptop. Has he taken pictures of you in here, sweetie? Ren shook her head. Not yet. He says the room isn't ready. But soon, she drifted to her mother's side, pressing close. I drew it. What he wants to do. Do you want to see? From her pajama pocket, she pulled out a folded paper. The drawing showed the spare room transformed. Backdrop hung, lights positioned, camera ready. In the center, a small figure stood in what looked like summer clothes, surrounded by watching eyes drawn in every corner. When? Talia asked, her voice barely a whisper. He said after the darkroom is finished. Next week. He bought new clothes for the pictures. Ren's voice got very small. I don't want to wear them. A sound downstairs, the front door opening. Early. Too early. He's back, Sage mouthed, quickly gathering her equipment. Cameras are active. Everything's recording. Footsteps on the stairs, accompanied by a familiar whistle. Caleb's post-run tune. Talia grabbed Ren's drawing, folding it quickly. Go get dressed for school, Firefly. Everything's going to be okay. As Ren slipped out, Caleb appeared in the doorway, surprisingly dry for someone who'd supposedly been running. His eyes took in the scene. Talia, Sage, the laptop still open on the floor. Technical problems? He asked pleasantly. Just helping Talia set up a better Wi-Fi network, Sage said, her voice casual. These old houses have terrible coverage upstairs. How thoughtful. Caleb stepped into the room, his photographer's eyes scanning every corner. Speaking of technical setups, I'm hoping to finish the darkroom this weekend. Got some special projects in mind. Actually, Talia heard herself say, I've been thinking, maybe we should wait on the darkroom. Focus on getting Ren through the school year first. Something flickered behind Caleb's eyes there and gone so fast she might have imagined it. Of course, he said smoothly, whatever you think is best. Though Ren seems so interested in learning photography, it would be a shame to discourage her artistic growth. After he left to shower, Sage gripped Talia's arm. The cameras are live. Every room, every angle. We'll have evidence of everything. How long? Talia asked, thinking of the new clothes Caleb had bought. The darkroom nearly ready. 24 hours for basic patterns. A few days for solid evidence. Sage squeezed her hand. Just keep acting normal. Let him think everything's fine. And Talia? Don't leave Ren alone with him. Not for a minute. The first evidence arrived at 3:47 p.m. the next day. Talia was in the middle of her afternoon art class when her phone buzzed with Sage's coded message. Coffee tomorrow. Lots to discuss. Their predetermined signal that the cameras had caught something significant. Through the remaining hour of class, Talia maintained her composure while helping students with their projects, all the while hyper-aware of her phone's weight in her pocket. She'd arranged for Ren to stay after school for an extended art therapy session with Dr. Frost. There was no way she'd leave her daughter at home alone now. At 5 p.m. sharp, she arrived at Sage's small house in the East End. Her friend's usual immaculate home office had been transformed into what looked like a surveillance center, with multiple monitors displaying different areas of Talia's house. It's worse than we thought, Sage said without preamble, typing commands that brought up a series of video clips. Watch. The footage showed Caleb entering Ren's room during school hours, methodically photographing her personal space, her dresser, her bed, her closet. He spent particular time arranging and photographing her summer clothes and swimwear. But what chilled Talia most was his expression. Completely neutral, as if cataloging inventory. He's been uploading everything to an encrypted cloud server, Sage continued, pulling up data streams. I managed to trace some of his network activity. He's part of a private group that shares content. They use sophisticated security measures, but they got sloppy with their metadata. Talia felt her throat constrict. How long? The earliest traces I found date back to just after your wedding. Small things at first, photos taken at family events, casual shots that could seem innocent. But the timestamps on his uploads match perfectly with Ren's drawings. She was documenting everything without even realizing it. A new alert popped up on one of the monitors. Caleb had returned home early again. He's been breaking his routine more often, Sage noted, pulling up the live feed. Watch how he checks the angles of the rooms, looking for cameras. He knows something's different. On screen, Caleb moved through the house with practiced efficiency, his photographer's eye scanning every corner. He paused in the spare room, now nearly set up as a darkroom, and made a call. Thanks to the hidden microphones, his voice came through clearly. Everything's ready for the weekend. We'll have at least 3 hours while she's at her teaching conference. Yes, the lighting setup is professional grade. Trust me, the results will be worth the wait. Talia's hands clenched into fists. I'm not going to that conference. I already told the school I'm sick. Good. Sage pulled up another window filled with code. Because look what I found in his cloud storage. He's been researching remote vacation rentals, all with private pools. Planning ahead for summer photo shoots. New footage appeared on the main screen. Caleb in the master bedroom, accessing a hidden panel behind their dresser. Inside was a collection of memory cards and a small notebook. "I need to get to that panel," Talia whispered. "Already ahead of you." Sage handed her a small device. "Hidden camera detector. Use it to make sure he hasn't placed his own cameras in your bedroom. When he leaves for his meeting tonight, we'll access the panel." They watched as Caleb went through his evening routine with mechanical precision. At 7 p.m., he left for what he claimed was a business dinner. The moment his car pulled away, Talia and Sage moved. The panel contained exactly what they'd seen in the footage, plus something else. A small diary written in Caleb's precise handwriting, detailing his plans and connections with disturbing clarity. "This is it," Sage said, photographing every page. "This plus the surveillance footage. It's enough." A new message pinged on Sage's laptop. An alert from one of Caleb's monitored accounts. He was buying photography equipment, more lights, new memory cards, and something that made Talia's blood run cold. A set of child-sized swimwear. "The darkroom will be finished tomorrow," Talia realized. "He's not waiting for the weekend." "No, he's not." Sage was already dialing a number. "Which is why I'm calling in the cybercrimes unit now. I've worked with them before. They'll move fast." As Sage spoke with her contact, Talia checked her phone. A text from Dr. Frost had arrived, concerning session today. "Ren drew something you need to see immediately." Attached was a photo of Ren's latest drawing. It showed the spare room fully set up as a studio, with dates and times listed in the corners, tomorrow's dates. But it was the details that made Talia's hand shake. The exact layout of lights and cameras matched the equipment Caleb had just purchased. "Sage," she interrupted, showing her the drawing. "We don't have until tomorrow." Understanding flashed across Sage's face. She spoke rapidly into her phone, then turned to Talia. "They're mobilizing now." "But Talia, he'll be home in less than an hour." "I need to get Ren," Talia said, already moving toward the door. "She's at my sister's house. I'm not bringing her back there." "No, you're not," Sage agreed, grabbing her equipment. "Because tonight's the night we end this. The police will be in position before he returns. We've got everything we need, the evidence, the diary, the network connections. He's not getting near her again." As they drove through the darkening streets, Talia thought about all the signs she'd seen but hadn't understood. The changes in Ren's artwork, her growing silence, the way she documented everything in her drawings, creating evidence in the only way she knew how. Her phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. Meeting ended early. Heading home to finish setting up the darkroom. "Don't wait up. Drive faster," she told Sage, thinking of all those memory cards, all those planned photo shoots that would never happen now. Thanks to her daughter's quiet courage and careful documentation, they had caught him just in time. But as they turned onto her sister's street, another text came through. This one made her blood freeze. "Stopped by your sister's to surprise Ren with some new art supplies. But no one's home. Where are my two favorite artists?" "He's bluffing," Sage said as they sped through Portland's darkening streets. "Ren's safe at the dance studio with your sister. He's trying to manipulate you into revealing where she is." Talia gripped her phone, where Caleb's text seemed to pulse with menace. She typed quickly, "At the grocery store with Ren. Need anything?" The response came immediately. "Strange. I just drove past Wilson's Market. Didn't see your car." "He's tracking us," Sage realized, making a sharp turn down a side street. "Find your phone's location settings." As Talia fumbled with her settings, another text arrived. "The darkroom's almost ready. Bought some special supplies for our little artist. Don't be too long." "Got it," Sage said, pulling up to the dance studio. "Your sister's car is still here. They're safe." Inside, they found Katie teaching her last class of the day. Ren sat in the corner, headphones on, focused intently on her sketchbook. She looked up as they entered, and something in Talia's expression made her immediately pack up her things. "We need to go," Talia told her sister quietly. "Don't tell anyone we were here." Katie's face showed confusion, then understanding as she glanced between Talia's tense expression and Sage's grim determination. "The guest house key is in my office," she said. "It's stocked with emergency supplies." As they drove to Katie's secluded guest house, Sage made calls to her cybercrimes contacts. "They're moving in now," she reported. "They'll catch him in the act of setting up the studio." Talia's phone buzzed again. Found Ren's summer clothes box in the attic, bringing it down for sorting. Shame to waste such nice outfits. The implications made her stomach turn. But then Ren spoke up from the back seat. "That's not true." "What do you mean, Firefly?" "My summer clothes aren't in the attic," Ren said, her voice small but certain. "They're in the blue box under my bed. I drew it in my diary so I wouldn't forget." Talia and Sage exchanged looks. "He's trying to get us to come home," Sage said, "making us think he's about to find something he hasn't accessed yet." But Ren wasn't finished. "He already took pictures of all my summer clothes," she continued, opening her sketchbook. "Last week. I drew it." The page showed her room from a high angle, with Caleb methodically photographing clothes laid out on her bed. In the corner, she'd written the date and time with her usual precision. "Smart girl," Sage murmured. "You documented everything, didn't you?" Ren nodded. "Miss Frost said it's important to keep track of things that feel wrong. So I drew them all." They reached Katie's guest house, a small cottage set back from the main road. As soon as they were inside, Sage set up her laptop, connecting to the surveillance feeds from Talia's house. The cameras showed Caleb moving with increasing agitation through the house. He wasn't even trying to hide his actions now, pulling out photography equipment and setting up lights in the spare room with frantic energy. "Look at his face," Sage said. "He knows something's wrong. He's accelerating his timeline." On screen, Caleb pulled out his phone and made a call. Thanks to the hidden microphones, they could hear both sides of the conversation. "They're not here. No, something's wrong. The kid's been drawing everything. Should have confiscated her sketchbooks weeks ago. Yes, all the equipment's ready. But, no, I can't wait. If they've figured it out." He paused, listening. The backup drives? Already secured. But the new material was supposed to be... Yes, I understand the value, but... Ren had drifted to the window, her sketchbook clutched tight. "Mom? Can I draw what I see from here?" "Of course, Firefly." As Ren settled with her art supplies, Sage's phone lit up with messages from her cybercrimes contact. "They're in position," she reported, "just waiting for him to access the drives. They need to catch him with the evidence." On screen, Caleb paced the spare room, his photographer's precision crumbling into nervous energy. He made another call. "The shoots are canceled. All of them. Something's wrong." "No, you don't understand. The mother's an art teacher. She knows how to read kids' drawings. Yes, I know the value of the summer series, but..." Suddenly, he stopped pacing. The camera caught his expression changing as he looked at something on his phone. "What is it?" Talia asked. "He's accessing the cloud drive," Sage said, watching data streams on her laptop. "Trying to delete everything." Too late came a new voice. Detective Sarah Chun from Cybercrimes had joined their group chat. "We've got it all. Moving in now." On screen, they watched Caleb freeze at the sound of police sirens. His mask of calm control shattered completely as he ran to the master bedroom, pulling out the panel behind the dresser. But as he reached for the hidden drives, the front door burst open. "It's over," Sage said softly, closing her laptop to shield Ren from the scene. "They've got him." Talia went to where Ren sat by the window, still drawing. The page showed the guest house from the outside, but something was different about this drawing. For the first time in months, there were no shadows lurking in the corners, no hidden cameras, no tense figures or dark spaces. Instead, she'd drawn herself and Talia in the window, surrounded by protective circles of bright colors. In the corner, she'd written the date and time as usual, but underneath, she'd added something new. "Just us again." "Yes," Talia whispered, holding her daughter close. "Just us." Her phone lit up with a message from Detective Chun. "Evidence secured. Multiple devices seized. He's in custody. The network connections alone. This goes deeper than we thought. We'll need to talk tomorrow, but for tonight, you're safe." Both of you. Outside the guest house window, the first snow of the evening began to fall, covering everything in clean, bright white. Detective Sarah Chen's office at the Portland Police Department's Cybercrimes Unit was nothing like the stark interrogation room seen on television. Instead, the walls were painted in soft blues and decorated with children's artwork, a deliberate choice, she explained, to help young victims feel safe when giving statements. Ren's drawings are remarkable, Detective Chen said, carefully laying out the sketchbooks in chronological order. She created a perfect timeline without even realizing it. Every photo he took, every hidden camera he placed. She documented it all. Talia sat beside Sage, watching as the detective gently turned pages filled with her daughter's artwork. They'd left Ren with Dr. Frost for an extended therapy session, ensuring she had support while they dealt with the technical aspects of the investigation. The timestamps were crucial, Sage added, pulling up data streams on her laptop. They matched perfectly with his cloud upload patterns. When we cross-referenced Ren's drawings with the network traffic, it gave us everything we needed for the warrant, Detective Chen finished. But there's more. She opened a secure folder on her computer. The equipment we seized from the darkroom wasn't just for taking pictures. He was setting up a professional-grade streaming studio. Talia felt her throat constrict. Streaming, live broadcasting to a private network. The detective's voice was gentle but firm. We found correspondence about an upcoming summer series that would have featured multiple children. Your intervention didn't just save Ren. You helped us uncover a much larger operation. On the detective's screen, chat logs scrolled past, each message more damning than the last. Caleb, or rather, his online persona Artist I, had been methodically building his cover for years. The photography business, the tech company, the school volunteer work, all carefully crafted to create opportunities. The network is extensive, Detective Chen continued. But thanks to the evidence we gathered, particularly the documented progression in Ren's artwork, we have a solid case. Not just against Caleb, but against several other members of the network. Sage's laptop pinged with a new alert. They've just finished the preliminary analysis of his cloud storage. The encryption was sophisticated, but... She paused, reading. They found folders dating back years. Other children, other schools, were reaching out to potential victims, the detective assured them. Every piece of evidence helps us build a stronger case and identify others who might need help. A soft knock interrupted them. Dr. Frost stood in the doorway, holding a new drawing from Ren. I thought you should see this, she said, placing it on the desk. The drawing showed the police station, but not as a threatening place. Ren had depicted it surrounded by protective circles of light, similar to the ones she'd drawn around the guest house. In one window, she'd drawn Detective Chen at her desk, surrounded by children's artwork. In another, she'd placed herself, sitting safely with Dr. Frost. She's processing, Dr. Frost explained, using her art to understand that these are safe spaces, safe people. It's a significant step. Detective Chen studied the drawing closely. The detail is incredible. Look at how she's drawn the security cameras, not as threatening objects anymore, but as protective elements. She's beginning to understand the difference between surveillance that hurts and surveillance that helps. Talia thought of all the drawings they'd found hidden in Ren's room after Caleb's arrest, dozens of pieces documenting his escalating behavior. She was so careful with the details. Even when she didn't understand what she was seeing, she recorded everything. Children often communicate what they can't verbalize, Dr. Frost said. In Ren's case, her artistic talent became a tool for preserving evidence. But now, she pulled out another drawing. Look at what she created this morning. This piece showed Ren's new bedroom at Katie's guest house. The composition was radically different from her recent work, open, bright, with no shadows or hidden figures. She'd drawn herself at an easel, creating colorful paintings. The details were still precise, but they captured joy instead of fear. We'll need her to testify, Detective Chen said gently. But not for a while, and we'll do everything possible to make it easier. Video statements, written testimony through her artwork. Whatever works best for her. Sage's laptop chimed again. They've finished the first round of arrests, she reported. 3 other members of the network taken into custody. The evidence chain from Caleb's devices led straight to them. And Caleb? Talia asked. Denied bail, Detective Chun confirmed. The evidence was too overwhelming. The diary we found behind the dresser, the surveillance footage, the network connections, and most importantly, Ren's detailed documentation. No judge would risk releasing him. A commotion in the hallway drew their attention. Through the office window, they could see other detectives rushing past, phones ringing urgently. More arrests, Detective Chun explained. Every device we seized leads to new connections. It's like pulling threads. The whole network is unraveling. Dr. Frost checked her phone. Ren's asking for you, Talia. She wants to show you her new painting. Go, Detective Chun said. We've got everything we need for now. She hesitated. Thank you, both of you. Cases like this, they don't always end this way. If you hadn't noticed the signs in her artwork, if you hadn't acted when you did. Don't, Talia said quietly. I can't think about what could have happened. Then think about this instead, Dr. Frost suggested, pulling out one final drawing. It showed a classroom, Talia's art room, filled with children painting. In the corner, Ren had written, When I grow up, I want to teach art like Mom, to help other kids tell their stories. That's what matters now, Detective Chun said softly. Not what could have happened, but what will happen. She's safe, she's healing, and her art is becoming what it should be. Not evidence of trauma, but expressions of hope. As they left the station, snow was falling again, coating the city in fresh white. Talia thought about Ren waiting at Dr. Frost's office, probably already working on her next painting. Thanks to her careful documentation and quiet courage, she'd not only protected herself but helped uncover a network that had hurt other children. Now, she was free to use her art for what it was meant to be, not a cry for help, but a celebration of life. Her phone buzzed with a text from Katie. Ren's got her easel set up by the window. Says she's painting the snow, making everything clean and new. Clean and new. Yes, Talia thought. That's exactly what they needed. The interrogation room's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows as Detective Chun laid out the evidence one piece at a time. Caleb Thorne sat across the table, his photographer's composure cracking under the weight of what confronted him. Dozens of Ren's drawings, each meticulously dated and time-stamped, arranged in perfect chronological order alongside surveillance stills and data logs. It's remarkable, Detective Chun said, her voice professionally neutral. How a 7-year-old's artwork could be so precise. Every camera placement, every hidden angle. She captured it all. Caleb's lawyer shifted uncomfortably, but remained silent as the detective continued placing evidence on the table. Next came printouts of his encrypted chat logs, surveillance footage from Talia's security cameras, and finally, his own diary found behind the dresser. Your Honor, the prosecutor addressed the judge presiding over the bail hearing. The evidence demonstrates not only the defendant's actions but his intentions for escalation. The darkroom setup, the scheduled summer series, the network connections, all documented through multiple sources, including the victim's own drawings. From her place in the courtroom, Talia watched as Caleb's carefully constructed facade finally shattered. His lawyer had advised against speaking, but he suddenly couldn't seem to help himself. They're just drawings, he burst out. Children draw things all the time. You can't. Actually, we can, Detective Chun interrupted, pulling out more evidence bags. Because these just drawings match perfectly with the metadata from your cloud storage. Every photo you took, every camera you placed, the timestamps align exactly with your network activity. She was creating evidence, Mr. Thorne. She just didn't know it yet. The judge leaned forward, examining one of Ren's drawings, the beach scene that had first alerted Talia to the danger. The prosecution has presented compelling evidence of not only past actions but imminent plans for escalation. Furthermore, the defendant's connections to a larger network pose a significant flight risk. Caleb's lawyer attempted to intervene. Your Honor, my client has strong ties to the community. His business, the prosecutor cut in, which evidence shows was partially funded through his activities in this network. We've traced substantial payments from known offenders, disguised as consulting fees, Detective Chun placed one final piece of evidence on the table. A USB drive recovered from Caleb's office. This contains proof of Mr. Thorne's involvement in similar activities at other schools, other districts. The network is extensive, and our investigation is just beginning. The judge's decision was swift. Bail denied. The defendant will remain in custody pending trial. As officers led Caleb away, he finally looked at Talia. The mask slipped completely, revealing something dark and angry beneath. But before he could speak, Detective Chun stepped between them, deliberately breaking his line of sight. Outside the courthouse, Dr. Frost waited with news about Ren's latest therapy session. "She's created something powerful," she said, showing Talia a photo on her phone. "I think you need to see this." The new drawing showed the courthouse, but not as a place of fear. Ren had depicted it bathed in bright light, with Detective Chun and other officers standing guard. In the foreground, she'd drawn herself and Talia, surrounded by protective circles of color. But what struck Talia most was the small figure she'd added in the corner, another child, stepping into the light, encouraged by Ren's example. She understands now, Dr. Frost explained, that her artwork didn't just help herself, it's helping others. The police have already identified 3 other potential victims from Caleb's network, thanks to the evidence trail that started with her drawings. Sage joined them, her laptop displaying new data streams. The network's falling apart. Every device we seized leads to more connections, more arrests. It's like dominoes falling. And it all started because one little girl was brave enough to draw what she saw. Detective Chun emerged from the courthouse, her expression grimly satisfied. "He's being transferred to federal custody," she reported. "The FBI's involved now. This case, it's going to be bigger than anyone expected." "What happens next?" Talia asked. "The trial won't be for months," Detective Chun explained. "But Ren won't have to testify in person. Her artwork, combined with the technical evidence and surveillance footage, tells the whole story. She's done enough." That evening, at Katie's guest house, Talia found Ren setting up her easel by the window. Snow was falling again, coating the world in clean white. "What are you painting, Firefly?" Ren dipped her brush in bright yellow paint. "The future," she said simply. "See? No more shadows. Just light." On her canvas, she'd sketched out a familiar scene, her classroom at school. But this time, she'd added something new. Other children learning to use art to tell their stories, with Ren herself helping them. In the corner, she'd written her usual timestamp, but beneath it, she'd added words that made Talia's heart swell. "The day the bad things stopped. The day my drawings helped catch the monster. The day other kids got saved too." Talia wrapped her arms around her daughter, watching as she added more bright colors to the canvas. Sometimes the bravest thing wasn't fighting monsters directly, but finding ways to bring them into the light, even if that meant doing it one careful drawing at a time. Outside, police lights flashed briefly as another arrest was made somewhere in the city. Another piece of the network falling, another child made safer, another monster brought into the light. All because one little girl had the courage to draw what she saw, and one mother had learned to really look at what her daughter was trying to tell her. Spring came early to Portland that year. As March winds swept away the last traces of winter, Talia's art classroom underwent its own transformation. The walls, once covered in individual student works, now displayed a massive collaborative mural, a project that had started with Ren and spread through the entire school like a wave of color. "It's about safe spaces," Ren had explained to her classmates, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Places where we can tell our stories without being afraid." The mural had begun in the corner of the art room where Ren usually sat. Her initial contribution was a bright yellow sun breaking through storm clouds, its rays touching other panels where her classmates added their own interpretations of safety and strength. Some drew their families, others their favorite places, but each piece connected to the next, creating a tapestry of childhood resilience. Dr. Frost called it communal healing through artistic expression. Talia simply called it hope. The other children know something happened, Dr. Frost explained during their weekly session. Not the details, of course, but they sensed that Ren went through something difficult and emerged stronger. They're responding to her courage. Talia watched through the office window as Ren sat in the waiting room, teaching another young girl how to draw protective circles around her sketches. The girl was a recent addition to Dr. Frost's practice, one of the children identified through the investigation of Caleb's network. She's becoming a leader, Dr. Frost continued, using her art to help others find their voice. It's an important part of her healing process. Detective Chen's weekly updates had become more positive too. The network was unraveling faster than anyone had anticipated, with Caleb's seized devices leading to arrests across multiple states. Each new discovery validated Ren's careful documentation, her artistic attention to detail proving invaluable to investigators building their cases. "Your daughter's drawings are still helping us," the detective had said in their last meeting. "We're using them to train officers about how children might communicate trauma through art. She's changing how we approach these cases." At Riverside Elementary, Principal Howard had implemented new programs based on their experience. Art therapy sessions became available to all students. Teachers received training in recognizing concerning changes in children's artwork. And most importantly, a new policy required thorough background checks for anyone volunteering with children. No exceptions, no matter how charming or well-connected they seemed. Sage had helped too, designing a security system for the school that protected without frightening. Cameras were visible and clearly marked, their presence explained to students as tools for safety rather than surveillance. "Like the protective circles in your drawings," she told Ren. "Technology can shield as well as harm." The changes rippled outward. Other schools in the district began adopting similar policies. Parents attended workshops about recognizing warning signs in children's behavior and artwork. And through it all, Ren continued to paint, her art evolving from evidence into inspiration. "Mom," Ren's voice drew Talia from her thoughts. "Can we paint the guest house?" They'd been living in Katie's guest house for 3 months now, making the small space their own. But the walls remained the same neutral beige they'd been on that first night of escape. "What colors are you thinking?" Talia asked. Ren pulled out her sketchbook, a new one, its pages filled with bright futures rather than dark fears. "Like this," she said, showing a design where warm colors flowed from room to room. "Dr. Frost says making a space our own helps us heal." The next Saturday, their small community gathered to help transform the guest house. Katie brought paint rollers and takeout. Sage set up a portable speaker playing Ren's favorite songs. Even Detective Chun stopped by, out of uniform, ready to help. As they worked, Ren directed the painting like a tiny art curator, ensuring each color transition matched her vision. The living room became sunset orange, warming into peaceful yellow in the kitchen. Their bedrooms got soft blues and greens, colors of growth and calm. "The colors tell a story," Ren explained to everyone as they took a lunch break, her voice carrying the confidence she'd begun to reclaim. "See how they flow? It's like the mural at school. All the pieces connect." On the kitchen wall, they hung a special canvas, Ren's first new painting after everything changed. It showed the guest house transformed into a storybook cottage, surrounded by protective circles that now glowed with real paint rather than just graphite and hope. "You know what I love most about this painting?" Dr. Frost asked Ren during her next session. "You've drawn yourself looking out the window instead of hiding from it. That's huge progress." Ren nodded, adding details to her latest work, a series she called Safe Places that would be featured in the school's upcoming art show. "Windows are okay now," she said, "because we're stronger than the scary things outside." The art show became another milestone in their healing journey. Students, parents, and teachers gathered to view works from every grade, but Ren's Safe Places series drew particular attention. Each piece showed a different location: the school, the police station, Dr. Frost's office, their new home, all depicted as sanctuaries of light and color. "She's processing trauma through a lens of empowerment," Dr. Frost explained to a group of interested teachers. "Instead of drawing what hurt her, she's drawing what protects her." It's a powerful shift. At home that evening, Talia found Ren adding one final piece to her bedroom wall. A small self-portrait showing herself at her easel, paintbrush raised like a wand. "What's this one about?" Talia asked. "It's me being brave," Ren replied, carefully signing her name. "Not because I'm not scared anymore, but because I know being scared doesn't have to stop me from helping other kids tell their stories too." Through the window, spring rain washed the world clean, and Ren's protective circles, now painted in real pigments on real walls, glowed in the gathering dusk, no longer just symbols of hope, but proof of promises kept. 6 months after Caleb's arrest, the Portland Art Museum's Children's Gallery hosted an unusual exhibition titled Through Their Eyes. Children's art as voice and vision. At its center was a collection of drawings that told a story of transformation, from darkness to light, from fear to healing. Talia stood in the gallery's entrance, watching as Ren guided a small group of children through her artwork. The exhibition had been Dr. Frost's idea, part of a larger initiative to help children express themselves through art. What had started as one child's documentation of trauma had evolved into something much more powerful. "And this is how we draw protective circles," Ren explained to her rapt audience, demonstrating on a large easel set up for interactive sessions. "They can be any color you want. The important thing is believing in their strength." Among the children watching were several whom Detective Chun had identified through the investigation, survivors who had found their own voices through art therapy. Their parents stood back, wiping tears as they watched their children learn to transform their experiences into something healing. "Your daughter is remarkable," Detective Chun said quietly, joining Talia. Out of uniform in a casual blazer, she looked more like a gallery patron than a cybercrimes investigator. "The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit has requested copies of her early drawings. They're revolutionizing how we train officers to recognize signs of exploitation in children's artwork." Talia nodded, her attention drawn to the exhibition's progression. The first section showed selected pieces from Ren's documented evidence, carefully chosen to be appropriate for public viewing, demonstrating how she had recorded her experiences. These transitioned into her healing journey, the protective circles appearing, growing stronger, filling with color. The final section showcased Ren's new works, including a centerpiece that took Talia's breath away. Titled Our Story, it showed a group of children painting together, each adding their own protective circles to a shared canvas that spiraled outward to encompass more and more space. "Mom," Ren called out, "can you help? We're teaching everyone how to make a community mural." The gallery had provided a long paper scroll where visitors could contribute to a collaborative artwork. Children and parents worked side by side, adding their own interpretations of safety and strength. The result was a vibrant tapestry of healing, each piece connecting to create something larger than individual experience. Dr. Frost moved through the gallery, speaking quietly with parents and children. The exhibition had become part of her training program for child therapists, demonstrating the power of art as both communication and healing. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a section where a young boy was carefully adding his contribution. His drawing showed a child speaking to a police officer, surrounded by protective circles in blues and silvers. He came forward last week because of Ren's artwork. Said it helped him understand that telling his story could help others. Sage arrived with news from the legal team. "Caleb took a plea deal," she reported. "The evidence was too overwhelming for trial." Between Ren's documented timeline and the technical data, she paused, watching the children paint. "He'll never hurt another child again." The exhibition had drawn attention from child advocacy groups nationwide. Workshops were being developed to train teachers, counselors, and law enforcement in recognizing children's artistic expressions of trauma. What had begun as one child's brave documentation was becoming a movement. "Ms. Blackwood," a quiet voice interrupted Talia's thoughts. A woman stood nearby, her daughter half hidden behind her. "My Emily. She has something for Ren." Emily, who Talia recognized as one of the children identified in the investigation, stepped forward with a painting. It showed two girls painting together, surrounded by protective circles in every color of the rainbow. "I drew us," Emily told Ren shyly, "because you taught me how to make the circles work." Ren hugged her friend, then promptly led her to the community mural. Soon, both girls were absorbed in adding a new section together, their artwork flowing seamlessly into the larger piece. Later that evening, As they prepared to close the exhibition for the day, Talia found Ren adding one final touch to her section of the community mural. In careful letters, she wrote, "Art tells the truth even when we're scared to say it out loud. Ready to go home, Firefly?" Talia asked. Ren nodded, gathering her art supplies. Their new home, a sun-filled apartment near the art museum, awaited them. Its walls were covered in Ren's latest works. Bright landscapes, joyful scenes of children playing, and yes, protective circles that had evolved from desperate hope into celebrations of strength. "Mom," Ren asked as they walked through the peaceful evening streets, "remember when you said my drawings helped catch the monster?" "I do. Well, I've been thinking, maybe that's what I want to do when I grow up, teach art to kids who need to tell their stories. Like how you teach me, and how I'm teaching Emily." Talia squeezed her daughter's hand. "I think that's perfect." At home, Ren went straight to her easel by the window. The setting sun painted Portland's skyline in brilliant colors, and as Talia watched, her daughter began to capture that light on canvas. No hidden shadows, no lurking fears, just pure, radiant color spreading across the page like hope made visible. On the wall beside her hung the first drawing she'd made in their new home, framed as a reminder of how far they'd come. It showed mother and daughter standing together, surrounded by protective circles that now glowed with the strength of promises kept and fears overcome. Below it, Ren had written words that had become their motto, shared with every child who needed to hear them. "Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is draw our truth and trust that someone will see it." And in homes and classrooms across Portland, other children were drawing too, adding their own circles of protection to a story that continued to grow, one brave brushstroke at a time.